Hello and welcome to the 2018 Harkleroad-Adams NFL running backs rankings. I'm your host Drew Hare, this is Chris Adams, and this is Matt Harkleroad. Chris, let's go ahead and talk about the methodology. We've obviously talked about wide receivers and we talked about quarterbacks. What's the methodology for running backs? It's a completely different position from the other two.
Right, but it's a completely different position, but the same basic mindset that goes behind it. You know, we're holistically ranking running backs, so we're going to look at what they do on the field. You know, is a guy can catch the ball? Can he block? Blitz pickup? On, of course, being able to run with the ball, and you know, be a playmaker in the running game. We settled on 25 rankings for or 25 spots for this. So unlike quarterbacks, we're not just ranking one per team because obviously multiple running backs play. Although most of the guys on this list, with the notable exception of one team, New Orleans, everyone is you'd consider a lead back or if not a full feature back.
Sure.
So we don't want to get into trying to rank some of the third down backs or some of the real timeshare cases there. So not every team is going to be represented on this rank. We thought 25 was a good number to just give a sense of where we rank the current running back crop.
You get lost a little bit in the weeds when you try to get too far down this list.
Right, yeah, you're going to have, there's a lot of good third down backs, whether it's the Duke Johnsons of the world or Theo Riddicks. We could be here all day.
Yeah.
We literally could be.
So. And actually, one more thing on that, I guess I should say too, this is not a fantasy football ranking. We all play fantasy football, we love it, but you know, we are not giving you tips or PPR picks or gems or anything like that. You know, we are just ranking them in terms of how they would fit on a real NFL roster.
Yeah, with a system that works for them, and you know, a generic teamish. Kind of, you know, not putting them with the best offensive line, and we kind of try to take those things into consideration. If they've got a great offensive line or something, probably gives them a little bit of a boost. That would be unfair when comparing. So we're trying to compare apples to apples instead of apples to peaches or oranges.
Sure thing. Now, Matt, I know we've talked in the past, you know, you guys have mostly just been focusing on quarterbacks in the past years. This year we've expanded to wide receivers and running backs. Why the expansion?
Well, I mean, we like talking about this kind of stuff. It's fun to do. It's fun to put these, you know, now that we decided once we expanded to YouTube, maybe we get a little more content. One video a year is a little slim picking. So we kind of discussed back and forth because we've been doing the quarterback rankings for 5-6 years. If you see our first video, if you haven't seen it, go back and check that one out. But we felt like we need to talk about some other things, and we've always kind of had a wide receiver and running back ranking. I don't think we'll get into the tight end ranking, but who knows? At this point, I just don't see it happening. So we kind of wanted to get out some more content and talk about these things, and you know, the difficulty with running backs, I think, is that there's new faces all the time. And I think Chris mentioned it in methodology, but again, just like with our quarterbacks, is we're not ranking any rookies. So Saquon Barkley is definitely going to be on this list probably next year, and probably pretty high up on it, in my opinion. At this point, it looks like he's going to be a stud, but he's not on this list because I just haven't seen him in an NFL jersey except for a couple of preseason snaps. So that's where we are with that. So no rookies on this list.
Right. And also, as you're watching this, as recording this video, the NFL season has started. But we did make these come up with the rankings prior to week 1. So we are gonna these rankings are gonna reflect coming into the season.
Yeah,
so
we're gonna make this as evergreen as possible. We're not gonna talk about any of the first couple of weeks. So let's just go ahead and get right into the rankings. And the same thing is what we've done with both quarterbacks and wide receivers. We're going to start at the top, and we're going to work our way down to number 25. So we're going to start with the number 1 on the list for the 2018 Harkleroad-Adams running back rankings. Le'Veon Bell from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, at this point, he still has not reported, but we're not talking about what their particular situation is, what kind of offense they're going to be running. It's what they are as a total package running back.
Yeah, I think with Le'Veon, I mean, what does he do well? Literally everything. He's most of their offense. I mean, he gets the ball 400 times a year. Like, there's not a whole lot of guys with that level of production. He's in a contract dispute. The reason he's in a contract dispute is because he's really good at football. They can't decide. He wants to be paid what he feels like he should get paid, and they don't want to pay him the money he probably can get on the open market. And that's why he's in the situation. He's not in this situation because he's a bad football player.
Yeah, we have many years of the last couple of years of just complete dominance on the field.
I really think, for a long time, Adrian Peterson was the slam dunk best running back in football. Not to mix metaphors there, but when you say who's the best running back, no-brainer Adrian Peterson. And I think since AP, has started his career decline, 4 or so years ago, I think Le'Veon has really picked up the mantle of being the premier back in the NFL over the last 4 or 5 years.
Especially with how the NFL has evolved over the last couple of years, receiving out of the backfield. And you're going to see that.
Yeah,
and you're going to see that with number 2 on our list, Todd Gurley from the Los Angeles Rams, and number 3, Ezekiel Elliott from the Dallas Cowboys. All those guys can catch passes out of the backfield. They run block and pass block. The 3 guys can pretty much do anything.
Yeah, you're talking about workhorses with these guys. I mean, guys that put in the work, they put in tons of carries, their team uses them a ton, beats them up, and, for the most part, these guys are staying pretty healthy. Yeah. They're staying, I mean, Gurley's only got 1 year to say that for sure. I mean, but at that, you can't go wrong with Gurley at this point. I mean, look at the end of last season. I mean, he won lots of fantasy, and they're not
this guy here. This guy's fantasy team was. I won 2 leagues because of Todd Gurley last year,
and you won 1 because
I did. Yes, with these 2 guys.
So I mean, the guy just dominated.
Yeah.
And he, like I said, he does literally everything you ask a running back to do, and he does it really well.
He just hasn't been doing it as long as Le'Veon. Also, too, we talk about how the NFL's changed, and the days of the bell cow running back, may have passed, and no pun intended, with the pass becoming such a greater part of the league. But I think that even speaks more to these top guys on the list, that they are still. In a league that maybe has devalued running the ball a little bit, they are still the go-to options on their respective teams in those areas.
And even moving down the list to number 4 with David Johnson from the Arizona Cardinals, and also for LaShawn McCoy from the Buffalo Bills coming in at number 5. Very similar molds. I mean, obviously McCoy is a little bit more established in, Elliott's and the David Johnsons of the world, especially David Johnson coming out of his injury last year. But those guys can catch, they can run between the tackles, they are the best at their position.
Yeah, I think, no doubt here. I mean, you got a question with David Johnson is his health. But, if you remember when the guy was healthy not too long ago, he was the most dominant back for numerous weeks of a season where he looked like he was going to be an MVP, got a little dinged up, kept getting dinged up. Now, the question is, why rank him so high right now? We assume he's healthy, and because we're ranking all these guys assuming they're healthy, and he looks like he's healthy right now. Going into the season, there doesn't seem to be anything wrong with Johnson, so there's no reason not to put him on this list as high as he is, I think.
Anything for you to say about that?
Yeah, with a lot of I think with our rankings, you get into tiers of guys where, there's maybe a top tier and then a second tier and a third tier, and within the tier you can kind of move people around. So if you're watching at home and you think David Johnson's better than LaShawn McCoy, like we do, or if you think Zeke Elliott is maybe a little bit too high for being that young, and maybe you'd rather have Shady above him because of the experience. I can't argue with that. I think the explosiveness that Zeke Elliott gives you a little bit more so than Shady and Johnson, but you really can't go wrong with any of them.
Yeah, and with Zeke, it's really when he's not there,
you saw last year.
Offense. I mean, he makes that offense work just by his presence of being out there, and that's a huge statement.
And he's also a running back who loves to pick up the blitz and block.
Yeah, he's even done that since his years at Ohio State. Absolutely. Well, we talked about tiers. Let's go ahead and move on to another tier. We're going to call this the second years, and they're going to be right in order: 6, 7, 8. So number 6, Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints. Number 7, Kareem Hunt from the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 8, Leonard Fournette from the Jacksonville Jaguars. All those guys coming into their second year in the league. Last year's rookie class was awesome.
Amazing.
Even the year before too. So we were really getting into, these guys are coming into the NFL prepared. The colleges are running more sophisticated offenses. They're going to pick up pass blocking, do everything in and out of the backfield. But just talk about the second years.
Yeah, and again, this is another kind of a spot where you could mix and match a little bit in there, because you've got Kamara, who's probably the best receiver out of the 3 of them. Not probably, he's at 900 yards receiving last year, 800. Insane for a running back.
Yeah, he's in the rankings up there with the best wide receivers last year with yards catches. A lot of that was after the catch, though, too. Just what you wanted
running back to do. And then you've got Kareem Hunt, who's just game-breaking speed, game-breaking potential, home run hitter. And then Fournette is maybe more in the mode of a traditional running back. Still does a lot of things, can catch the ball, can do other things, but a workhorse.
And a guy with that first jump cut move that can shake you out of your shoes,
Yeah,
which not a
exactly.
lot of guys have, which
Yeah.
is one of the reasons why they wanted it, is
Yeah.
why he was so good
Yeah.
at college.
And those three, I know there was a lot of talk about, a lot of hype that Kamara was getting coming into this year, understandably so. And I've been reading a lot of stuff where people saying, well, with Mark Ingram, being out for 4 weeks with the suspension, Kamara is really just going to take off and be the future back there. Maybe, maybe not. It's also very possible that Sean Payton is a great offensive mind.
Sure.
It is possible that he put them in a situation to be successful last year with that two running back philosophy, and Kamara might end up getting a little bit exposed there without Ingram. I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about third down backs. I mean, he is a third down back. Like,
Right, yeah.
I think you started seeing him get in there earlier in the down set just because he can do so much. And he's a really good out of the backfield runner, too.
Yeah.
He's a little scarier on the field, especially for a defensive coordinator, than Ingram is.
Yeah.
I agree.
Now, I would say, though, I'm going to make a bold prediction here.
I like it. Go for it.
Even though in this ranking we rank Fournette as the third, we rank them Kamara, Hunt, Fournette. My bold prediction is that Fournette will end up going on to having the best career of the three.
Oh, look at that.
You guys have to come back for the 2019, 2020,
Very high-
2021 videos.
Very
Hit that
high,
subscribe button.
very high on Leonard Fournette.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
I do love Kamara, though, so we'll see. If I'm picking that, if we're talking about this off my top, I'm taking Kamara on that list, but I could see it go either way. I mean, Chris is a traditionalist when it comes to football. I'm a little bit more fast and loose with my players. I like them to do a lot for me. But yeah, I think they're all great. All three of those guys are going to be great, I think.
All right, let's round out the top 10. So we're going to move on to number 9, Melvin Gordon from the LA Chargers, and number 10, Jordan Howard from the Chicago Bears. That's quite a top 10 list. I mean, we talked about tiering the second tiers. Obviously Gordon this is Gordon's 4th year in the league, I believe. 3rd or 4th year.
Yep.
And then Jordan Howard is also another one of those guys who really
Third
came
year, I
on.
think,
Yeah. So there's a lot of young guys who are climbing up that list.
Yeah, that's the tough thing with that. Like I said at the top, it's hard to figure out where some of these guys are going to be. If you were going to do a list 2 years ago, there's no way Doug Martin doesn't end up somewhere in the top half of that list. The guy doesn't even exist anymore, and that's not because he's got super injured. That's the way the NFL is.
Yeah.
So predicting these guys how many years you're going to get out of a running back, it's really tough.
Yeah.
And to kind of slot these second, third round, third year guys, 4 year guys, this is where you're going to find them at this point. And until somebody takes their job away, maybe they'll be around, and maybe just the NFL running back stock was a little low. I think it probably was.
Yeah.
And it seems to be getting a little bit better the last couple of drafts. But it's a crapshoot. And where you put Melvin Gordon higher than Howard, I like what Howard does in that offense. I thought that offense was really bad. I think he's probably hindered a little bit by that system. But 9-10 seems about right to me.
Sure.
Yeah. Again, I think with Gordon and Howard, they're both really good players. There's just not quite the level of explosion that you see with the higher guys on that list. But they're both very, very good running backs.
Sure.
And you definitely deserve to be in the top 10.
Definitely feature guys.
Yeah, feature guys.
Absolutely.
For sure. Absolutely, for sure.
All right, well, let's go ahead and recap the top 10 one more time. So, number 1, Le'Veon Bell from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 2, Todd Gurley from the Los Angeles Rams. Number 3, Ezekiel Elliott from the Dallas Cowboys. Number 4, David Johnson from the Arizona Cardinals. Number 5, LaShawn McCoy from the Buffalo Bills. Number 6, Alvin Kamara from the New Orleans Saints. Number 7, Kareem Hunt from the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 8, Leonard Fournette from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Number 9, Melvin Gordon from the LA Chargers. And number 10, Jordan Howard from the Chicago Bears. That's all the top 10 list, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and move on. We're going to go through these next ones. We're talking about tiers. We're talking about the second years.
Yep.
This is preferential interchangeable, is what we call 11 to 14
Yeah,
15.
yeah, I agree.
So we're going to talk about number 11, Mark Ingram from the New Orleans Saints. Number 12, Devontae Freeman from the Atlanta Falcons. Number 13, Carlos Hyde from the Cleveland Browns. Number 14, Jay Ajayi from the Philadelphia Eagles. And that really comes down to the preference, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I think so. Ingram, he's the only timeshare guy on this list, but I mean, New Orleans had 2 guys who rushed for 1,000 yards last year. I mean, they used the 2 of them very well together. And Ingram is, it's interesting. Heisman Trophy winner, for our first few years in the pros, looked like he was going to be a giant bust. Didn't really do anything. New Orleans historically did not run the ball at all.
Right.
And then maybe it was the addition of Kamara, getting them figuring out how to use the two of them together. Really blossomed last year in his role down by the goal line. But more than just he's more than just a goal line bruiser back. He could start for a lot of teams.
Oh yeah, he would.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Devontae Freeman, we're talking about, the first couple of years that he was in the league, he was really kind of middling, and then all of a sudden he just exploded for, 16, 17 touchdowns back in 15, I believe. So it's...
Yeah, that Falcons offense really took off.
Sure.
And he was a big part of that offense. And, he does split a little bit of time there, but he's still the feature guy.
Yeah.
He's probably getting 65% of the workload as running back, I think. And, he does some other things pretty well, too. He can block, and he can kind of do those things. Yeah, he looks like a guy that when he came in, you thought it was like, well, this is a guy. He's a good.
Yeah.
Then he looked like a all world. Kind of took a step back last year, I think. And we'll see how that timeshare really works out for them. And having Julio doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
Having a target like that down the field where you've got to pay attention to him. Put a safety on him, opens the box up for a guy. But yeah, I think there. And then we talk about Carlos Hyde and Ajayi. Carlos. Great career in San Francisco, and both those guys are in new systems, right? Yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all works out for them. But you can't knock Hyde's production level over the years in San Francisco. And same thing, Ajayi looked really good in Miami for touch and go here and there. And I think that's why they shake out the way they are.
Yeah, and going throughout the rest of this list, especially starting, there's a big difference between Jordan Howard at 10 and Mark Ingram at 11 and going down because these are going to be lead guys in more of a timeshare situations. Right. Ingram obviously will have Kamara. Freeman's going to have Tevin Coleman. Carlos Hyde's going to have Duke Johnson, Chubb eventually. So these are the lead guys, but they're going to have some other guys in.
Yeah, and these guys are also on teams with fairly diverse offenses. Some of the other guys have. The Steelers have obviously an amazing pass offense as well, but and so do New Orleans. But
again, the running back's a huge part of it.
Right, exactly. Yeah. But I'm
not saying they don't also have great wide receivers.
Yeah.
But if you wait for our wide receiver ranking, you'll probably see guys from those teams up pretty high too.
Exactly.
But what I was going to say here, these guys, they're a part of their offense. They're not called upon to carry the load for their respective team, and part of that scheme and part of it is talent. I
agree.
I even think a part of it is just that's what the NFL is nowadays.
Right.
It is.
Offensive coordinators do different things.
Sure.
Like they run their system regardless.
Exactly.
Some guys are a little more flexible. Like Sean Payton seems like a guy he can take the talent he has, kind of mold it into what he wants, as opposed to and guys, that's what makes them their money. Like guys, if you have a coach that sticks around for lots of years, he's probably pretty flexible.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of these systems, maybe they don't have an offensive coordinator that's quite like that.
Right. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next tier. Young Guns 2.0 is what I'm going to call this one.
Yeah.
So 15, Dalvin Cook from the Minnesota Vikings. Number 16, Christian McCaffrey from the Carolina Panthers. And 17, Kenyon Drake from the Miami Dolphins. All these guys, I definitely know Cook and McCaffrey. This is their second year. We're just talking about how awesome that rookie class was last year. But these guys are, as of right now, they are the lead guys, young guns with maybe some older guys behind them.
Dalvin Cook, he would be up near those other young guys. The Kamara, Hunt, and Fournette, had it not been for the injury last year. He looked all-world and then had the horrible knee injury, so we'll see how he comes back. McCaffrey very much was in kind of a timeshare role last year. I remember we were talking when he was at Stanford, and was lighting it up there. We were trying to think what's going to be his role in the pros, and we weren't quite sure. I think, Matt, at one point you said catching passes from Tom Brady would be the ideal fit for him.
He looks like a guy that does that, I'm just saying.
But it sounds like in Carolina they fully committed to him as their lead back this year, and it'd be really cool to see what he does this year. He was a great college player.
I think he earned that position too. He looked great for stretches. I think these three guys, why they're not a little higher up on this list, is that they all come with some question marks.
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
And maybe you could say Drake had the best season of those three guys last year.
Yeah.
When you look at the stats, I think that might bear that out. But if you still like, all right, well, which one of these guys is going to be there next year? I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah.
Some of these, inevitably in running backs, some of these guys aren't going to be here next year, whether they be the guys at the very top or the middle. This is the range where I think you're going to see some guys fall, some guys climb, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, 2018 is definitely going to be a very interesting year for a lot of these guys in 11, 12, 13.
I mean, you make your rookie contract money in the third year, right?
Yeah.
So you got to see where these guys go. They got 2 more years to get there.
Right. Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the top 20. So number 18, Alex Collins from the Baltimore Ravens. Number 19, Derrick Henry from the Tennessee Titans. And number 20, Lamar Miller from the Houston Texans. A lot of these guys, they're very talented, but their ceiling's also kind of capped as well for what they can actually do.
Yeah.
And moving up on that list.
I feel like we've been waiting for Lamar Miller to have a breakout year since like 2012.
It does feel that way.
And
especially for fantasy owners.
Exactly. Yeah, and he's had ample chances to be the lead guy with multiple teams. He's been okay. He's not a bad running back, especially if you have a great passing offense and you need a solid runner to keep the defense honest. He's great in that role. That's probably his ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at him, you look at Collins, on the other hand, might be a guy that's kind of like coming into his own.
Yeah.
I mean, look, his stats were great last year. He was a big part of a bad offense. I mean, I think maybe you're gonna see
He's the guy in Baltimore this year.
That's a guy that looks like a guy that could move up to me. I mean, Derrick Henry also still young. He's in that position. In Tennessee again, I don't know. I don't love their offense. I don't.
Even with a new coaching staff, new offensive philosophy,
what are their pieces? I mean, they're still. You've got Mariota that seems like a decent quarterback. I think we had him in the mid-tier kind of range. Let's wait and see on those guys, I think. And, if we're going to pick bold predictions, I like Collins the best out of those 3 guys. That's probably why he's ranked higher on the rankings. I think he's a guy that could take a big jump this year.
Do you have anybody in that, that 11 to 20 that might be making that big jump possibly into the top 10 or maybe in that first half of the
I mean, I kind of said it with Dalvin Cook. That may be cheating because he probably would have been higher if he comes back from the injury. But I mean, the injury is some questions. I know we assume everyone's healthy, but we just don't have enough data on him to see what he would have been in a full season. So yeah, I guess Dalvin Cook would be my prediction to move up.
Good one.
Well, let's go ahead and recap 11 to 20 one more time. So number 11, Mark Ingram. Number 12, Devontae Freeman. Number 13, Carlos Hyde. Number 14, Jay Ajayi. Number 15, Dalvin Cook. Number 16, Christian McCaffrey. Number 17, Kenyon Drake. Number 18, Alex Collins. Number 19, Derrick Henry. And number 20, Lamar Miller. All right, we have 5 more to go. And we're going to start off with another young gun, Joe Mixon from the Cincinnati Bengals. So Joe Mixon obviously has been sharing time. There's no Jeremy Hill now in Cincinnati. It seems like he's really going to be hopefully making the leap this year.
Yeah, I think you guys got to, again, he's a guy looks pretty good when he's got the ball in his hand. Again, how much are they going to give him the ball? And how much they trust him with it?
Yeah,
those are. I think that's why he ends up a little down here. I mean, you can make the argument that he should be a little higher on this list, and if you're going to do that in the comments, feel free. I'm not going to fight you too hard on it. I think he's going to have a big season. I think he's going to be higher up on this list. But again, I don't know. Maybe.
The same thing with number 22 on our list, Isaiah Crowell, formerly of the Cleveland Browns, now of the New York Jets. I mean, pretty much in a similar situation. He's still going to have a Bilal Powell there, but maybe a new offense. Maybe he's able to get into the top 20. We just
as a suffering Browns fan, I watched a lot of Isaiah Crowell the last couple of years, and he's okay. He's got ability. He can be explosive. I think the Crow, if the hole's there, he'll hit it and he'll hit it hard. The problem is the Crow, he doesn't always see the holes there. He doesn't, he's not great at adjusting. He doesn't have like the patience that some of these other running backs do. I mean, he was playing in a lousy scheme in Cleveland. Maybe that changes with going to the Jets, but we'll find out, I guess.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think when you got a Duke Johnson there, what he had before, I mean, a complete different change of pace guy that they seem to like a little better. They want him around. They gave him some money.
Yeah.
It makes me think, well, what does this guy really bring to the table?
Right.
And now he's in a situation where there's 2 guys that are pretty similar.
Right.
So we'll see if he takes the leap this year, he deserves it.
Yeah.
But again, he's got to fight for a guy who does pretty well, especially in goal line situations. Bilal Powell takes a lot of touchdowns away from a lot of fantasy hunters. So we'll see how that shakes out. But
sure. And speaking of shaking out, let's do the last 3 on our top 25 list. So number 23, Adrian Peterson of the Washington Redskins. It's so weird to hear that. I didn't even say that. Number 24, Marshawn Lynch of the Oakland Raiders. And number 25, Frank Gore of the Miami Dolphins. These guys,
call it the old guys group.
Yeah.
Established but aging. I think it's a situation, 2012, 2013, these guys were top 10, top 15 guys.
Oh, yeah.
Undoubtedly. So they
Top
still
5
have
guys,
Yeah.
top 1
Yeah,
guy.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially for Peterson. But
Lynch too. I mean,
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah.
The beast mode years. I mean,
Oh,
still,
yeah.
it's still fun to watch that guy's highlights. I mean,
Yeah.
they were just amazing.
These guys are still talented.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the case of Peterson and Gore, you got 2 future Hall of Famers there. Marshawn probably not quite at that level, but when he was on, he was as good as anybody.
Hall of Fame personality.
Yes, there we go.
Well, he could play for some more years
Yeah,
too.
it's
So
fine.
he
Yeah.
seems to like playing in Oakland.
Yeah, so it's kind of like the Lifetime Achievement Awards, putting those 3 on the list here.
And we ran out of young guys.
Yeah, and again, it drops off really quick on the running backs. Ranking running backs is a lot more difficult than ranking quarterbacks.
I do.
We found out.
Yeah,
So.
it's just again they move everywhere. I mean, like I said, just look at Doug Martin for one. I mean, one guy that
Yeah.
would have definitely been on this list, and now he's behind a guy we
Yeah.
have at 24.
Another guy too, Alfred Morris, a
Yeah.
couple years ago when he was in Washington. I remember, I think it was like 2016 or 2015. He had 120 yards in the first week and 2 touchdowns, and then they just stopped using him for whatever reason.
That was Washington though. They did that.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, though. Running backs, coaches and coordinators often will just stop using a running back for. I don't really know why. Remember when Gruden was in Tampa? He would just rotate running backs every year. Guys would have good years and then they would disappear. And
I think it's like that overthinking thing.
Yeah.
They figured this running back out. I have to get a
Yeah.
new one. Well, no, they're still good. Just keep using them.
yeah,
Whatever. That Gruden gene. It's Washington too.
yeah, true.
All right, well, let's go ahead and recap 20 to 25, and then we'll talk about
Yeah.
the overall list. So, number 21, Joe Mixon. Number 22, Isaiah Crowell. 23, Adrian Peterson. Number 24, Marshawn Lynch. And number 25, Frank Gore. So how are you guys feeling about the 2018 list? You guys, there's a nice blend of established, the young guns we've talked about,
Yeah.
multiple different tiers. 2018 is going to be a very interesting year for pretty much everybody on this list.
Yeah, I think, and we talked a little bit at the beginning about the NFL changing and the running back position being devalued. I think now, it's a copycat league. I think running backs are cool again.
I'm saying buy. It's a buy stock, right?
Yeah,
Running backs,
absolutely.
you buy.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, it's fun. It's a fun position to watch.
Sure.
It's a fun position. I like when running backs are good in the NFL. It makes the NFL a whole
Yeah.
lot more fun, in my
Sure.
opinion. So I'm looking forward, especially because you got so much young talent.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great to see. And maybe not a great running back draft coming in.
Yeah.
We'll see. I mean,
Yeah.
like I said, you guys didn't rank Saquon Barkley, who's definitely very talented, number
Yeah.
2 pick in the draft. We'll see where he ends up on the 2019 list.
Right.
We expect him to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I should have said Barkley, not in that group. He's going to be great.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah, he'll be there. I think too, for a while there, people were saying, oh, you should just never take a running back high in the draft, regardless.
Yeah.
And that was after the Trent Richardson disaster in Cleveland and some of the other first round busts at the position. But now it's slowly starting with Todd Gurley and Zeke Elliott in the first round and Fournette. I mean, you can get great running backs everywhere. I mean, look at Hunt and Kamara. And no, it's not quarterback, it's not wide receiver, it's not pass rusher, but it's still a important position in the NFL. And I think taking a running back in the first round, it really depends on your situation. It's a luxury pick. When you had the Cowboys there, they were there picking 4 overall because Romo got hurt that year, and they didn't expect to be picking that high again for a while, so they gambled on Zeke Elliott, and it's paid off for them.
I think so.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for another great list.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So once again, this was the 2018 Harkleroad-Adams Top 25 Running Backs list. Go ahead and subscribe. Watch some of the other videos. For Matt, for Chris, my name is Drew. Have a great one.
Take care.
Thank you.